is Scott Hutchinson, and why do we care?
Well, I don't know if a lot of people care, but a big part of my role is I'm a people connector, connecting them with the game of tennis. Hopefully, they're creating a passion and a love for it. And hopefully, those that come in contact with myself or those that are on the staff, it's meaningful. I think back to when I came to Atlanta in 2004. I'll never be more grateful, to you, Shaun, for taking me in and let me stay with you for a couple of weeks. And, that does, that kind of stuff resonates, how people treat you, how people take you in. And that's really the basis. Yes, we all can teach forehands and backhands and group drills and all that kind of stuff. And sure, the title might say director of tennis, but at the end of the day, connecting juniors, adults, connecting people with tennis. And that's, I would say that's a big part of what I do. Fortunate to be in an organization like GAC, in the Atlanta market, Greater Atlanta Christian. Shaun, you're a graduate of there, so
1995.
It's really changed a lot, and but I'm very fortunate to be there. And basically in a nutshell, that's kind of my role.
And is that outside of is that including director of tennis, or is there a new director of tennis there? Tell me about the academy.
No. Yeah. So, look, my title, my role is running the entire tennis academy. Started it from its inception in 2017. We got a staff of 10, and it's the full gamut. Everything from 4 or 5 years old all the way to I think our oldest player is probably in his 70s, roughly right in there. Participate in all the leagues. A little over 30 league teams right now with Alton, USTA, juniors and adults. Our niche, though, and as you guys know, in Atlanta, there's an academy, there's a court to play on, there's facilities everywhere. Our niche is kids come out of class during the school day to take their lessons. So what does that look like? I'll use my daughter as the example. She's 6, she's in K5. She'll come out of her PE class, walk over to the indoor courts, which are in the Bradford Center. So Shaun, back when you were there, the Bradford Center was a gym. Now it's 2 indoor tennis courts. And so cool. You walk right over from the lower school, you take your lesson. Our entire staff, everyone on our staff is either USPTA or USPTR certified, at various levels. And once the lesson's done, they walk back with their coach back to class, and they continue on with their day. So that's probably the unique part of our setup. We have the before school, the during school, and then after school drills, depending on kind of where you are level wise. If you're a high performance player, you're going to train in the morning, you're going to train in the afternoon while utilizing our hybrid schooling options. If you're an alta lady, you're going to take your drills 8:30, 10 o'clock, somewhere in there, right after drop off, or if you got kids that are driving to school, you're probably coming a little bit later, around that 10 o'clock time. And then everything kind of in between. Our nighttime activity is just as busy. Got a bunch of mixed teams, two Sunday ladies teams, so that's growing. 3 mixed teams right now, and that's about all we're able to handle. We've only 6 outdoor courts and 2 indoor courts, so 8 total. That's kind of our bandwidth right now. Over 500. That's I counted 520 players in the program, and not to kind of toot the horn, but we started with 0 back in January of 2017. So it's the vision of our former president, which was Dr. Fincher. He was probably president when you were there, Shaun, and also now the current president, Dr. Harsh. They very much think outside the box, and that's why there's a tennis academy at GAC. It allows us to kind of separate ourselves from the competition, but at the same time allows us to introduce tennis to virtually anyone in the school. So regardless if you want to play high school, if you just want to play in your alta team, or you want to learn the sport, we've got a spot for anyone. So it's a very good it's a good thing. The education world is changing, and so for kids to have opportunities to not just play tennis, but do other things throughout the school day is really a blessing more than anything. So.
And you mentioned Scott Harsh. I'm going to take credit for all of this because I can always make it about me. But in 2015, I went to Scott Harsh and I said, "We need more. You can do more with your tennis programming," and said, "Hey, this is where we do." And we start with those 4-year-olds, and they didn't bite then. So somehow you actually talked them into it and got a chance to take that into the future.
And so it's funny you say that, because in our conversations, I mean, it was weird how it came about. It was one of those things. So I was as you know, I was at Sugarloaf Country Club for 13 years. Had some not just great people we worked with, not just yourself, but Daryl, running into Daryl, Lewis quite often at different events. Then another gentleman, Will Seagraves, came along. Great. I mean, absolutely fantastic bosses. JC kind of fell, I don't want to say it fell into my lap, but it kind of, it opened my eyes a little bit, because I loved it there. I mean, Sugarloaf was a great place, great members. I'm fortunate to run into a lot of them, still today, that are at GAC. And the idea of running the program in a school setting was, I couldn't find another place that was doing it, unless you went to an IMG or, and that's really, you're focused on that tennis. You're not focused on maybe the school side of it as much. But I was willing to take it, kind of take a chance. Was willing. We're at a kind of a stage. Our son was born. I did want more opportunities of being around at the time, Davis. Now we have 2 kids, so that kind of opened that up a little bit, that I could certainly be more present as a dad, as a husband, and all that. And they were somewhat doing it, what we're doing with tennis, with some other aspects of the school, in their swim program and in their music program. Their music program, kids, play during the day. Swim was before, after school. And I kind of just started thinking, I said, well, the one thing that'll kind of separate us is the ability to play league tennis out of here, which will attract kids to the school, both adults and juniors. But the ability to play during the day, and regardless of where you want to take tennis, I think that was the biggest part, is how can we involve the lower school, the middle school, and the upper school, and how can we do it effectively? And we didn't start out with indoors. I mean, we started, I mean, they were the 6 outdoors. And the other part and at the time I didn't really know this, but the other part, they were developing the online school side, which is Ethos. And so that, I think, was really a big part of it. And they were, Scott or Dr. Harsh was fully upfront. He's like, "Hey, we've kind of explored this over the last few years." So Shaun, I appreciate you planting that seed.
Yeah, clearly not
ready for it.
Doesn't credit me with anything, but I'm glad it went as where I wanted it to go, because I've also always wanted to create a school. And I've always said, when you and I first met Jordan Cox.
Yeah.
We thought, wait a minute, why are these kids spending 7 hours a day in school, spending 30 minutes a day on average playing tennis? Why is this not flipped? And for you to be able to take it there and find a school like GAC that's willing to work a little bit outside the box without just saying, this is how school's been done since 100 years and we got to do it this way. I love that. So
the neat thing about it is they really looked at it from in-house. Yes, it's great that we've had a ton of families come through and join in part because of the tennis program. Not, they're coming for the faith, they're coming for the great education. Those are our core principles. But the ability, to give kids and adults, but really give kids another avenue to allow them to, engage in sport. And tennis is a sport of a lifetime. And do every one of our players, play 12 months a year? No, not at all. I mean, 70% of our players are playing during their league season, or playing just during their lesson during the day, which is great, because at some point down the road, maybe when they become an adult, maybe they take it more seriously. I mean, our goal is hopefully everyone wants to play high school tennis at a bare minimum. But we know in the springtime, you may be a baseball player, or a track star, whatever it may be. And
that's one of the things, sorry to interrupt, tennis ends up having to share. Like if you're, for some reason, if you're a soccer player, you only play soccer and that's your thing. Or if you're football, you're only football. And Bobby and I talk about this all the time. But tennis, it's always like the third or fourth sport. So we're always sharing with somebody else. So at some point, it's like, well, I got to take a break from tennis for a while because we're going to play basketball through the winter. It's like, dang it,
Right.
we were just getting somewhere.
So that's it's really good you bring that up because that's kind of where we've been able to kind of bridge the gap where, again, specifically to those that are in the school, yeah, they may be playing basketball, but they're they're playing tennis during the day. Even if it's a half hour, even if it's an hour. We have a time period called enrichment, for example, that kids can choose what they want to do, and a lot of kids choose tennis. Oh, I've never played before. Let me go play. So that's really the great aspect for us. Now we have a lot of players outside of the school as well. They have no affiliation. They play with us, which is great. We're an open door. It's important that kids can also bring their friends if they want. No different than you're in your neighborhood. Your next door neighbor wants to play with you. Let's go.
How did you talk them into that? Again, Bobby and I are talking about this a lot. To not have that point of view of being exclusive and members only. We come from that members only background of a TPC Sugarloaf type system. And Bobby and I struggle talking to HOAs and talking to clubs and saying, unless you are full and on a wait list, you cannot be exclusive or you will ruin your own program. And you mentioned you're full and you still have that open door. It's also run like a club that wants to include those that are nearby, even if they're not members or at the school.
Yeah. So, obviously, put your business hat on the business side of it. The more, families we can attract to the campus, that helps admissions, that helps enrollment, from that perspective. But we really look at it is, are we able to not just, help those inside the gate, but are we able to expose, those players outside the gate? So, we're not, yes, there is a small yearly fee, $225, that if they engage in any drills or anything like that. If they just want to play on league teams, they pay the league fee, which is $50. So there is some little
non-member cost.
We don't really call it, we don't really even call it a member. It's just, there's wear and tear in the facility. There's got to be there's got to be something there. It's very beneficial if we see kind of eye to eye on our Christianity. That's a part of it, but we also have all kinds of different faiths within the school, and that's a big change probably when you were there. Is
not how it was.
GC is very forward thinking of that, and also very, very respectful of people's viewpoints, and their upbringings, and that's really changed for the good. The halls are very diverse from that perspective, so we try to do the same thing on the tennis side. Invite all different backgrounds in. We run into a little bit of, hey, you're a school, what are you doing? Like, there's a tennis program there. We run into a little bit of that. But at the same time, we say, hey, you're welcome to play. I mean, everybody's welcome, kind of regardless of your background. And
I won't apologize for my genius idea.
Open door. Yeah.
Like, this is a great idea.
It's an open door. And you talk about HOAs and stuff like that and different clubs. I get it. You're at Sugarloaf, as an example. I mean, there's a lot that comes, with that, and membership makes sense. In my HOA, yeah, if you got 5-6 players, they can help field the team. Let them play. Let them play. And if it gets to a point where things are maybe courts being trashed or something like that, or
Sure.
I get that, but and a nominal fee, is enough to say, hey, put something into the pot a little bit. It's not going to break the bank. I know
Right.
some, HOAs will say, hey, $500 a season. I mean, that's a lot.
Yeah.
Make it me personally, make it enough to say, okay, you're putting something in a pot, but not so much it's it's gonna break the bank more or less.
Something we can say yes to, exactly. And leaving on that business hat. I know Bobby's got some questions because you and Bobby spoke years ago about courts when we were trying to figure out, hey, how are you doing your court management system? Bobby, what you got for Scott today?
Well, the interesting part, just because of the phenomenal growth, Scott, what were your incremental improvements on a yearly basis? Because when you pitch this idea, everybody gets excited if you're, of the same train of thought. It's achieving the results and being satisfied with, well, we went from 0 to 10. Well, that's how many thousand time improvement from what we had, but 10 is still not a real big number. So, what would you say your growth rate was? Because we've had this conversation with St. Francis, we've had this conversation with Notre Dame Academy, the things they want to do. But when you're talking about a decent amount of money, people also want to know results and they want to see results. So what were your, it helps to have an administration that is forward thinking and receptive to the idea, because it's going to take some time. So when did you start to see traction in what you guys were doing?
So I'll answer that from two perspectives. The first one, we went after kind of the league side first. We knew that we wanted, we wanted classmates to play together. We wanted classmates to invite their friends. So the very first, in January of 17, the very first thing set out to do was, and this was right when the high school season was starting. So one of the unique things is, in the state of Georgia, if you run a developmental program of any kind, of any sport on your campus, and you work with more than 4 players, you can't coach the scholastic teams. You can't coach the varsity teams. That wasn't necessarily a goal of ours. But what that means in the tennis world in the spring is all the courts are being used, right? So we went after, the Sunday afternoon league, USTA, to start. We had a vision of, all right, we were looking to have 5 teams for Alta come the fall of 2017. We ended up with 15. And I'll never forget this call with Dr. Harsh. And I said, hey, we don't have lights on the court. And apparently with Alta, you need lights. And he goes, okay, that's, and we had some revenue, but it wasn't enough. I mean, it wasn't enough to support 6 banks, a court, with 6 lights and, or 6 courts with lights. So, I said, well, if we don't put these in, those 15 teams that we're getting ready to put in, this was like in July, the last week of June, early July, is not going to happen. And it's going to stymie. So that was a kind of an inflection point a little bit in that, even though we didn't have the revenue of 15, we had all these players excited to play. And so that was our starting point of, if we can bring league teams first. And then I also had 5 tournaments that were kind of associated with my name, meaning when I was at Sugarloaf, we ran 5 tournaments, and those kind of followed you. It didn't say Scott Hutchinson tournaments. That was a tournament director. So, and so the growth kind of like this, we started in the elementary, we started at the bottom, holding beginner clinics, a couple days a week that we could get courts. And January through April, we were 2 hours a day, before high school was able to push their practice back an hour after school. I was fortunate. There was one ladies team and an A ladies level team that was looking for a facility to play out of. And so that helped. They right away, they started drilling with us, I want to say like the 1st of February, something like that. And then after that, I started building beginner classes, beginner ladies, with the idea of, if we can have a group of, GAC moms and their friends play on a league team, that's the goal. Again, that kind of connecting, that community connecting, if you want to call it. Very fortunate. We talked to, earlier about Jordan Cox. Him and his now wife, Val, helped me in those early days. Because again, your one-man show is good, but a one-man show, 12 people on the court is not going to, especially in Atlanta, that's not going to help with your growth. And so, very fortunate to them. They came and helped, about as much as they could part-time. And then we just started, it snowballed from there. We had, came into the summertime, 8 weeks of camp, 7 of them, and 24 players somewhere in there. The 8th one was at the end of summer, and I think I had like 5 because it was just hot. And then we jumped right into the fall, and having those Alta teams and USTA teams really was the basis of the growth. Now we weren't engaging the elementary as well at that time. And then we kind of got a bit of stroke of luck in that the Bradford ended up having a leak in the gym. There was a complete gut job. And in order for us, again, forward thinking administration, in order for us to continue to grow, continue to support the whole school for all players to engage in tennis, we needed indoors. That was in the plans. When I say in the plans, it was, hey, once we start breaking even and showing revenue growth, we'll look to build. Well, I don't know if you guys have ever looked at how much it costs to build some indoor courts, but it's millions. I know Rome Tennis Center is getting, I think it's 6 or 8 more indoors, and if I recall right, it was around 8 million, something like that they're going to put into more into their facility. So it's not cheap. In our case, if we're able to build more, great. I know it won't be in that number, but we had an existing building, and so we kind of hit it at the right time. That following summer, the indoors opened, and it was gangbusters from there. It really was. We started our daytime lesson program. We're still kind of working through a staff. Most of the staff in the early days were part-time. And again, you're in a school system, so the compensation and the salary side that you see in clubs, for different levels of your title, we weren't there yet. We've gotten there, which is great, but again, that growth of players playing through the league system, that was our big thing, if you want to call it, was really what brought us to kind of where we are today. So in terms of numbers, I mean, 0 players to, I think our Alta teams, we had maybe 2 or 3 of those 15 had the minimum of 8. Everybody else had 12 to 15 players on it. On the junior side, on the ladies side, those first couple of seasons, and really probably right up until about the summer of 19. I mean, we were still forfeiting some matches. Growth was good, but not everyone was necessarily like gung-ho to play league matches. They wanted to play, they wanted to learn. That particular first ladies team that not the A team, but our beginner C8 team, I think they're up to B4 now, and they've stuck together. I don't know if you remember, Shaun, but there was a couple of ladies teams at Sugarloaf. They had the same 12, 15 ladies for years. Yeah. And that's kind of what this one ladies team that we have. They're all friends and kids that are kind of in the same age, and that was one of the big visions is connecting the community within the community. Then how do you connect outside of the community? And that's a big pillar within GAC as a whole, is they want an environment that is connecting people. Whether it's in the classroom, outside of the classroom. You guys may not know this, but I think we have 3 or 4 families, maybe 5, that are in the actual area of where GAC is, the Meadow Creek area. The other 99% come from all over Atlanta. So being able to connect people and keep people on campus, is a big part of the academy. Did I get you fully there, Bobby? I answer most of that.
Yeah. Another question would be, obviously, do you have ladies teams playing during school?
We do.
So how does that, I mean, in this crazy world in which we live in, where stranger danger and there's a man that nobody knows sitting in a car, is it because you're a private school? I can't see that happening in a public school environment, just because they're so afraid of who's walking on campus.
Yeah. So obviously there's gates. There's an officer, there's 2, 3 officers on campus, but there's full-time security. So everyone that comes through, they got to give their license. It's I don't know if it's like a quick background check, but it's enough to show enough information of who you are. if there's any challenges in the back. But we have a pretty tight security around campus that when ladies or guys during the school day come to play, we're gonna know who's there. All the rosters get submitted to our campus security, so not just our internal rosters, but with the Alton USTA, we submit that to them so they know. And honestly, it wasn't that big of a challenge. It was more, hey, we just need to know who's coming on campus for one. They're going to have to give a little bit of their background when they're coming. Again, when they scan their ID, they'll go through a quick scan and again, if anything comes up, we haven't had that yet. But they're going to know right there at the gate. Can this happen in other settings? It may be a little challenging in the public school setting. I haven't really looked into it from that perspective, but I can tell you, we've had players come from other schools, or we've had to pick them up for something. They kind of ask the same questions. The only difference is you can actually drive onto the campus of Peachtree Ridge or Gwinnett, North Gwinnett. You can get to the front door, but then from there it's pretty. I have a reason to be there, so I think it's pretty tight. Now, getting to maybe their courts and whatnot. Yeah, I think there's definitely an opportunity. It would depend on how what their security is like, and where we put a big focus on that. So you can't just walk onto campus at 9:30, for a ladies ultimate. Now, on the weekends, there's some different opportunities there. We it's kind of the same process. There's always security around campus. Sunday mornings we don't do anything. That is a time for people to go to church and whatnot. But yeah, it really hasn't been a problem for us. But I think we hit it on the front end. Where everyone that comes, that's just part of it. And if you don't want, to give that information, then sorry.
Yeah. Well, that's great. And I think I'm a fan, just because I think that's what you need to be successful. And it goes back to even we always talk about even the public schools, the different ways that they could come up as expenses go up. Fundraising ideas are old and horrendous. Why don't you take it another level? You got 4 lighted tennis courts, open it up, make it more where people can use it than obviously school gets priority, but you could raise your revenue a little bit.
No, and I think there's also, you can expose, more people to the sport. You see right now, and full disclosure, I'm not I don't have a secondary education background or anything like that in terms of being a school teacher. I was my college degree and everything, but do I know all the inner workings of a school setting? No, I don't. I'm still learning, even 7 years later, still learning, a lot of it. But we are in Atlanta. You are the world's largest tennis city. There's even daytime opportunities. Players are, you got people that are taking performance training classes, for football, basketball, baseball during the school day. There's no reason why, honestly, there's no reason why you couldn't offer that up on the tennis side. Even if it was, I get it. Most like high school coaches are a teacher of some capacity, that's just part of the rules in Georgia, but there really is no reason why the model can't work. Whether you're looking at it from a revenue standpoint or you're looking at it from different engagement opportunities, for your students.
I'm just thinking, Scott, and I agree with Bobby on this one, because what's the number, Bobby? You think the high school courts are used 1% of the available time? Just spring only, and that maybe 1% if you consider summer, you consider during school.
Yeah, they're used.
Got to be able to do that.
Yeah, they're used. Most places are going to be used, the third week of January to the end of March.
Right.
That's it.
And then you're going to have your region tournament, so you're going to have, let's say at the latest into the beginning of May, but most the end of March, couple weeks into April at best. And there's an opportunity there. And the safety thing is probably the biggest thing, for schools.
Letting people on campus, right?
Letting people on campus, and maybe it's, maybe it's an assistant AD that just everyone, hey, you want to play? I mean, I tell you what, I mean, case, I don't know, it's case Whistler, Ultimate Tennis, the independent leagues. And the other part is, most schools actually don't have lights. So that is maybe a challenge in league system, but independent play, when you're playing your independent doubles or singles leagues, absolutely the schools are a great opportunity for that if they allow it.
To play a 10 a.m. match with 4 ladies going down there and being able to have courts, and no, it's a great idea. And you talk about the independent leagues, it just makes me want to call Joel at T2 and say, all right, how can we get on a campaign and go talk to Gwinnett County Public Schools or go talk to Cobb County and try to find out what kind of access we could create? But Bobby's question is still true. His first thought is, well, wait a minute, aren't you letting non-school related people onto your campus? Do we have the big gates that let you through with the scans and the security? Sounds like a lot for an Alta match, doesn't it?
It is, and I think the thought process is, how do we continue that parent engagement on campus? I mean, I think that's kind of where it starts. So maybe you start with the independent leagues, and it's a little legwork on the front end of the the parents you're vetting, more or less. If you're a parent of the school, let them use these unused resources, and they're around campus, and again, not sitting in, I don't sit in board meetings, or education board meetings or anything like that. And so I'm still kind of outside looking in, even though, myself and our staff are all fully employed by GAC, but there's an opportunity there to connect, families on campus. In Atlanta, could this work in Kansas City and other parts of the country? I don't know. But the one gripe I do have is within the, like kind of the high school tennis world, is Georgia's one of the only states that doesn't recognize UTR.
They do now.
No, Georgia High School Athletic Association.
Georgia High School just started this year.
Did they?
Yeah, just started this year. I just talked to Chase about it. Yep.
So that's good, because they've been, so I'll step that back one step. Most of not every team's required to do it.
Right.
and UTR will do it for them, first of all, Chase's team and whatnot. But the benefit, even if you're not playing college tennis, the benefit of that junior, and I'm glad to hear that, because I did not know. That's great. Learn something new every day. The benefit to that junior when they go to college, again, connecting, with other players on campus, hey, you're not a 12 UTR, no big deal. Well, I was a 4 in high school. Great. We got a club team over here you can play on. And right away, there's a friend group that's, that's happening. So that's good. I wish the next step would be requirement, because then it also helps, these high school coaches that maybe are just more, of an administrator to help them have a team, connect better with other teams, outside of their region or local play. So you have,
let's have that argument. Let's have that argument later, because I'm going to take the other side, because I actually think it's a bad idea for Georgia high schools to use UTR, because I think you're going to make the high school coach irrelevant. But because UTR is good.
It's cool. Yeah. I was looking from a standpoint of how to help that kid in college.
Yeah, helping the players, definitely. I think
not to play at Georgia, maybe on the club team, maybe whatever.
Yeah,
that's a tangent. I don't want to get too far over.
No, I'm with you. Let's follow up with that one as well. All right, Bobby, you got anything else for Scott? Because I want to ask him what he's got coming up, and then hit him with King of Tennis.
No, like you said, that we just opened up another can of worms for another day. Because I agree, and I think it'll also help change the perspective of the school tennis team, which has always been, do we have enough warm bodies? I mean, I'm fortunate enough to be in South Forsyth, where as a community coach, we do obviously know the UTR, and it does help us formulate the team. And it's a process, and it's also a good way to sell the game, where, hey guys, it makes the coach's life easier, where now you have something to tell the parent that they're just not going to make the team anymore. We're in an area where we have a lot of players. Look at the UTR. This isn't me telling you your kid doesn't belong. This is a system. So I see a place for it. And like I said, I hope it leads to kids becoming more interested in, just, if we're going to make the commitment, make the commitment and take it a little more seriously for the things, as Scott said. I wish, being of a different generation, that there were club teams that cause I didn't want to play Division I. I didn't want to put that commitment in, but I still wanted to play. I was fortunate my freshman year, I found a kid who had transferred from Baylor who had played on the tennis team. So I thought I was good all of a sudden because I'm playing a guy, who played Southwest Conference tennis. And that gave me some perspective. But he went away and I lost that opportunity. So tennis wasn't as big a part of my life as the bars were. And I wish it was the other way around. So, there's good in everything. And I'd like to see that be the impetus behind, hey, let's take this a little more seriously because of what it can become for you. The opportunities to meet, as you said, the opportunities to get in a group when you walk on campus where you have more people to reach out to initially when you don't know too many.
And at the end of the day, it's really, the goal of a coach, a mentor, whatever it may be, is to foster that love for the game.
Yes.
Whether it's a first time playing or you're looking to play at the highest level. I think the biggest, and we've all had players come back and say, man, my time in the tennis court was transformational. I'm still playing today at 25, 30, whatever it may be, and that's what you like to hear as a coach. That's the part that is huge in my opinion.
And speaking to your success, the reason why you're able to grow is the open door. From an industry standpoint, tennis has a hard time attracting new players, has a hard time attracting young coaches. Well, if you made it a little bit more accessible and showed a path a little bit better through stuff like, the more the better. Any marketing guy wants numbers. I want to have more numbers. So how do we get more numbers? And I love the fact that tennis is, we have, again, this is 10,000 topics we can go. We have obesity issues in this country. Kids don't take gym anymore. This doesn't make sense to me. We're not teaching the right things at a young age where they become part of who you are. I don't know anything other than exercising. I've been doing it since I was 5. That's just a part of my day. And there's so many things that indoctrination's too hard a word, but presenting it at a young age and getting the feeling that exercising and feeling good about yourself produces, then you want more. And that's in all aspects of life. So, kudos, and it's a good formula and we need to get it out there.
Yeah. And I will, I'll plug, kind of the traditional tennis pro, if you want to call it work week, right? There is obviously high burnout and all that kind of stuff. One thing that really stood out to me in our environment is, family first. And you're starting to see, I know they're doing it at the USTA National Campus and they've worked on it for a couple of years, how to create that better balance for that pro such that, Daryl would tell me all the time, you can't teach 60 hours a week for the rest of your life. I loved it. I was like,
but
this
you
is great.
Tried.
Tried, but maybe I didn't have enough hobbies. I don't know. I kind of golfing. I was able to get to the event.
True. We had Mondays.
Yeah, right. But that's where I think within our industry, it's maybe a little bit of a tangent, that celebrating or champion that hey, you can get everything, the fulfillment and the pay. At the end of the day, out of this career, and not miss family, not miss this event, not miss that event, or hey, I'm on, I have the afternoon slots, so I'm on court till 10 o'clock at night, 5-6 days a week, whatever it is. But on the other side of that is, how many people that do you know that actually know job opportunities outside of being on the court? And that's where I would like to see, more visibility around.
That's what we're doing.
Right.
That's what we're doing. That's why we're trying to help people here.
That's kind of why I bring that up, because there's most people, tennis, okay, you're coaching. Well, yes, but there's and part of it is like, can you get this from USTA a little bit of them saying, hey, these are all the opportunities. Rep or a stats guy, a dartfish guy, the court side of things, Mike Imbernone, just things like that. The whole ecosystem. Yeah.
Well, and what was your title again? What you're doing right now?
My director of tennis.
Right.
That's the academy side. And then our GAC has an online school called Ethos. So I'm the director of strategic partnerships.
And they're being my point.
Yeah, it's a whole nother avenue. Our goal there is like I am here. I'm in Indian Wells right now. We're a sponsor at the Easter Bowl. Our goal is, those kids that are on our platform and those ones that eventually become or come to the platform, we will never see them on the campus of GAC. That's not the point. The point is to provide a college prep education for them from anywhere in the world. And in order to do that, you want to support them along the way. And I'll one step further to that, and this is fascinating. I don't know how much you guys use ChatGPT or any AI machine learning, but GAC created their own AI tutor called Trek AI. And what's unique about it is wherever you are in the world, you can get on Trek, ask it questions specific to your class. So you're in a math class, you don't understand assignment 5 from chapter whatever. You can get on there, ask it questions, and it's Socratic in nature. It'll ask questions back. What we have found is students are more likely to ask the tutor questions than in the classroom.
Sure.
And so just that next step. So now
less embarrassing.
Less right, but then it's a truth model. So chat is great in the sense that it's a predictability model, but if you take chat and you layer information on top of it, it'll only grab from that information. So where I'm going with that is you can completely have, you can have a tennis background and you can get into the technology side, which tennis has always been pretty bad about. Golf's always done a great job with it, but there's another avenue. Now, that wasn't something that smarter people have created this at GAC, but it falls in my lap because I was talking with a family earlier today, and hey, our time, we live in Hawaii. The time zone is completely different. What if I can't get hold of the teacher? Here you go. Here's our tutor, and that information goes back to the teacher. It will eventually, okay, and I don't know if the technology is fast enough just yet, where you'll have this conversation with an AI version of your teacher. That's out there. And the next step is using something like this to help pros develop lesson plans, help pros in facilities. Hey, you got a staff of 10 summer camp, workers, how do you line them up? Yeah, you got great training and everything like that, but what type of tools can you give that, that director or give that lead coach so that he can help these other coaches without babysitting them, getting right down to the micro level. So it's just kind of another one of those plugs where, the school itself, GAC, is very, forward thinking. We've been in, tennis is a big market for us from the online school side, but like equestrian, we're in, racquetball, which is kind of shocking, golf. And there's a market for it for those kids, not wanting to give up their college prep education just to go after, a sport that they love, or whatever it may be. So,
well, Scott, we've spoken a couple of times, but I think this is the funny part about the question, or where it speaks, I think, volumes of your humility, because what I was getting to is you're the center point of all this. As the tennis director or the guy, we know a bunch of people, and as Shaun said, that's what we're trying to accomplish with GoTennis. We always laugh about, I want to start a concierge service. I got a guy in New York. You always say, well, I got a guy who does that.
Right.
And as the tennis director, we listen to a lot of different voices. So we hear about, my club at Windermere, very fortunate, where the Southeastern marketing rep for Cadillac lives there. So I've been involved in various tournaments and gotten him involved in professional events and got exposure to other things because I've listened, had conversations, learned more about what, and as you said, I'm not a technological guru by any, but I get to introduce to people and we get to put people together. And I think that's another aspect from a job fulfillment. Like you said, you can't work 60 hours a week. So, create the atmosphere where you go. And I've been very fortunate the working clubs as a single dad. Part of my interview, what do? I'm a single dad. Everything else pays the bills so I can be a single dad. And, that's why. And so there's no, I'm not going to be here when, if you're looking for somebody, it's going to be here 80 hours a week. I'm not your guy. because I have a daughter, and
That's why I start out with, when Shaun says like, who are you? At the end of the day, yes, your titles are titles, but a connector of people,
Yes,
connecting,
exactly.
in our case, connecting players to the game of tennis. I
Yeah.
really, I value that opportunity. And just like you're saying, with the guy from Cadillac, which you got to tell him that new, their new electric Cadillac.
The Liquid or whatever. I love it.
Lyric, I want one.
Lyric, yes.
It is nice.
He can't get one, so
Yeah, I rode in one. I think it was like 2 weeks ago. A friend of a friend had one, and then I was down in Miami for the day on Tuesday this week, and they were a big sponsor down there, the Miami
sure,
Open.
yeah.
And they're beautiful cars. And selfishly, being a guy from Michigan, hey, anything in the big three, works for me.
That's right. Well, Scott, we appreciate your time, and it sounds like we could do this forever. But it looks like the sun is setting behind you, so that's a cool view you got
Oh
going.
my gosh, it is. Here we go.
Okay, so before there we go. Show me. There we go. I want to see that. Look at that. Actual Indian Wells. That is awesome. So for those,
it's a day late, dollar short, because all the players are in Miami right now. So
that's okay. It's still a cool view. I like that a lot. But it's coming, and I want to ask you our King of Tennis question, because we get the best answers from the best people. And I think we can help tennis in a big way if we can crowdsource all the best ideas. And one of the ways we're doing that is with our King of Tennis question. So last thing, what I want to do is ask you, Scott Hutchinson, Director of Strategic Partnerships for Ethos, and we're going to talk more about the online school when we get the chance, and Director of Tennis at GACS. If you were King of Tennis for a day, however long it takes, whether it's of the world, of just Georgia, just Atlanta, whatever your thought process is on being King of Tennis, is there anything you would do or change?
From the highest level, I would definitely make tennis similar to some of the other professional sports, in that bringing WTA and ATP together for more events and have a season. It is odd to me that leading up to Indian Wells, for example, you've got the top 10 players playing in 7 different places. Maybe that's just an American, speaking, because, we got football, basketball, baseball. We always see the, players on the team, and I get it's an individual sport. I think there absolutely needs, you got to find a way to have an off season. Absolutely got to find a way. You got to find a way to combine the tours such that the men and the women are playing more often together. The ATP tour is in great shape. WTA tour is struggling financially with this. It's a well-known thing. There are, say what you will about some of the, entities trying to get into tennis and that have invested in tennis. But I think they're in order for the casual fan to follow the sport, and not just, listen to a podcast here and there to find out where thing is. You got to connect the tours a little bit better. You really do, so that when the season is. The three of us we might know, Rotterdam's going on right now, but where's that? The Dallas Open's going, okay, great, but connect them a little bit better. Collegiately, the tennis on campus, need to see more, I would say, promotion behind that. And the US Open is a great opportunity, for USA to, I know there's money behind it. It takes it to us, but to really say, hey, you may not play college tennis like on the, the college team, but the tennis on campus, the club teams, great way to stay involved. And I don't know that, even the kids we have graduating this year, I've said it probably 100 times to them, when you're connecting with your, your counselor or whatever, the people that you get connected with at school, find out where the tennis, where the tennis teams are playing. Find out, where, what is it? And then on top of that, how often has the University of Georgia been on Tennis Channel? Have you ever, we've all been to a match up there, and they get 10,000 fans there. How often has any college match, been on the Tennis Channel in between, like the Sunshine Slammer? Now I get it. You got everyone's in Miami. You want to watch them. Promote it. You're getting great players coming from the game. You're absolutely great players coming from the game. And then down to the grassroots level, from the league play, the individual play. we have to be open, right? I'm not saying that your clubs and everything like that, your high-end clubs, need to invite everybody, because there's a reason why you join a country club, as an example. But the ability to be more open, whether it be schools, whether it be neighborhoods, invites more people to the game. We do have obviously a big shortage of pros. But I think it's because most people think it's just you're on the court teaching and you're grinding hours. Yeah, it's a bit of it. But how is that different than the guy that works at JP Morgan and has to work 90 hours a week the first 10 years of his career? They got to put the time in, right? I mean, sure, financially it's a little bit different, but that may be the first foray into it. But in order for us to, I think, to really expand the coaching side and expand more people in the game, I don't think you got to make it easier per se, but you got to I think the word needs to be out that there are more opportunity than just being on the court. You can be in this industry. I vividly remember, telling my dad, I want to go to school to be a tennis pro. And we knew no one that did it as a full-time job. My Spanish teacher, who introduced me to tennis, was the local pro at the country club, but he was, he had a job. The opportunity for kids to play openly without a coach, and how to, I think it's a big part of it as well. We're very ingrained, and you got to do a lesson, you got to do this, and a date helps. It helps everyone, helps financially, all that good stuff. Great. More times than not, most kids that come to a lesson will have not played independently outside of that. And if we can, as pros, the homework at the end of the lesson, go hit against the garage, go do this. And I always look at the good in people. I think most do that, most say it, most encourage it. But we probably don't follow up on it from that perspective. And so that'd be kind of, look at it from three different stages, the pro, the college, and then right down to, the recreational level of those just beginning. That would be my big picture, if you want to call it.
And Bobby, I should have known Scott would have the all-encompassing answer. It is a high, medium, and low. Most everybody else.
Bit of a chatter. So
sounds like a politician.
Good thoughts. I know. So
yeah, that's not in my. It'd be hard for me to be a politician.
I don't know. Strategic partnerships. That's not that different. You still got to be fairly political.
Yeah, no, that's true. Yeah. But
yes,
no,
I appreciate it. That's a great answer.
I appreciate you asking me to come on. I know we talked about it a few times, and just glad we were able to make it work. So I try to watch as many of your podcasts as I can.
So you're the one.
Hey, like anything, you got to start somewhere. You got to start.
I've been waiting to make that joke. I'm sorry, I wasn't sure when it was going to come, but I've been sitting on that one. But Scott Hutchinson, I really appreciate it. Bobby, as always, thank you so much. And Scott, we will definitely follow up, and we will be in touch. Thanks so much.
That's
Scott,
great.
thank you.
Thanks, guys. I appreciate it.